Everybody's got their own path in entrepreneurship. Some people like to drop everything and go all into the idea they have. The way Dave and I started this business, it was a bit of a side project until it picked up enough momentum that we could confidently jump into Gold BJJ thinking, hey, this has a real shot at success. We're not gambling on this. Like, we have customers that like the product. Now it's time to pour some more fuel in the fire.
Welcome to the Combat Creative Podcast, where we explore the heart of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, uncovering its creative, entrepreneurial, and leadership qualities with guests who embody what it means to be a leader in our BJJ community. Now on 3, 1, 2.
Hey everybody, thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Combat Creative Podcast. I'm your host, Jared, and today we have one of the co-founders of Gold BJJ. We have Cole here. Cole, nice to meet you.
Hey, Jared, thanks for having me on.
Cole, can you just share a little bit of behind the scenes, maybe of your personal story, how you got into jiu-jitsu and what you enjoy about it so far?
For sure. So yeah, I'm 36. I'm a brown belt in San Diego. I started training jiu-jitsu in 2016 when my wife and I moved to San Diego. Prior to that, I was boxing a bunch, and when we moved here, I checked out a bunch of boxing gyms, but it seemed like everybody in San Diego does jiu-jitsu. You can't drive 2 blocks to seeing a jiu-jitsu academy on a corner. It's like, all right, maybe I'll give that a try. And pretty quickly just fell in love with the sport and how it was just this kind of never-ending game of human chess.
Love it. Can you share a little bit of behind the scenes about Gold BJJ? Tell people, if they don't know who it is, maybe they haven't seen your ads, or maybe they aren't familiar with it. Share a little bit about the company.
Yeah, so Gold BJJ is a jiu-jitsu brand that my business partner Dave and I started back basically a year into our jiu-jitsu journey, where he and I both played high-stakes poker for a living for a little over 10 years. And so we knew each other very well through that. We both got into jiu-jitsu at the same time, and we were looking for something new. The poker world was just kind of shrinking a bit, and we were just ready to move on. So we decided we'd kick up some sort of e-commerce business as a side project. Didn't really matter what it was. We just wanted to get something up and running to get some business experience. And we both were really into jiu-jitsu at the time, and noticed in particular that there wasn't a great presence of jiu-jitsu brands on Amazon. So we're like, I wonder if we, launch a jiu-jitsu brand, learn how to sell on Amazon, if we could kind of make this into something. We started very small, just in my garage with, a few boxes of the first products we ordered. Then moved to a storage unit, then a small warehouse, and now we've got a pretty big warehouse. We sell rash guards, gis, all sorts of jiu-jitsu accessories. Yeah, that's how we're
here. We'll get into a little bit. I have a couple just product questions that I think people will find interesting. But what are you enjoying most so far about being in this business and serving this industry?
Probably the biggest thing is just using or selling gear that we use every single day. I mean, I train every morning religiously, and it's really fun to, actually use and test and design new products. Then to go to a tournament and just see people organically wearing our gear. That's still crazy every time I see it, and pretty fulfilling.
That's really neat. My wife and I, believe it or not, have a history in apparel. My wife's a fashion designer, and we've had a few children's clothing brands that have had a lot of really, really highs and some low lows, part of owning an e-commerce brand. And dude, that never gets old. I think I was in church maybe around Christmas time last year, and there's a teenager in front of me that was wearing one of our hoodies. And I was just like, hey, we made that. And it never gets old seeing it in public. Pretty great.
For sure. I did a tournament last year where I walked out for my first match, and my opponent was wearing Gold BJJ gear. And then our photographer was there taking some photos. So he had these awesome photos of me and my opponent, both in, I had a black rash guard on, he had a white rash guard on, so the contrast was awesome. And then I look at the photos, and the guy in the background on the map behind us is wearing Gold BJJ shorts.
What? I was going to say, you better be wearing it if you're dude, that's pretty neat.
For sure.
It's such a neat thing to have people appreciate what you make. And like the fact that people take money out of their bank account to buy a product that you guys have create, it never gets old to me. I don't know if we'll get deep into like fashion again as a couple, but if we do, that's something we'll look forward to. There's a lot of businesses e-commerce businesses, but when I think about jiu-jitsu, I wanted to ask about your company's, maybe like your core values, your mission. What are some things you are trying to do or stand out a little bit different? There's a lot of options out there for people. If you could shine a light on that.
I mean, number one is the product and just making gear that we're really proud of. This is not, just random stuff that's being drop shipped from China with our label on it. Like, we are very heavily involved in the design and development of our product.
Awesome.
We have a team of athletes here in San Diego that are constantly testing it, giving us feedback. We're iterating on it. Like, we really just want to deliver an excellent product that people love. And the second part is just customer experience. A lot of jiu-jitsu brands, are either drop shipping from overseas or, are using a third-party warehouse. So, your orders might not get out super quickly. We run our own warehouse with our own staff here in San Diego.
Really? Wow.
You place an order on goldbjj.com. It's shipped out to you within one business day. Killer customer service.
And you have your own warehouse, and you guys are fulfilling that.
Correct.
Man. Let's talk about products a little bit. I'm just curious how you approach maybe development of new products. What are some of the things that you look for as a team you guys already have gis, rash guards, and shorts. And it's not just a fashion industry. It's also maybe functional. So when it comes to developing new products, just share maybe a little bit of what that's like for you and your team.
Totally. So part of it's kind of reacting around the industry. So, for example, IBJJF just launched some new gi requirements that go into place after 2024 Worlds.
Oh, really?
Where gis now have to be.
What are they?
Yeah. So gis now have to be a minimum of 380 GSM, which is going to make a lot of the current lightweight gis illegal. So one of the things we're working right now is making the absolute lightest gi possible that still complies with the new IBJJF rules. So a big part of it's reacting to stuff like that. We're also designing gear around athletes on our team. So we just sponsored Big Dan Matasoyu from New Wave, and we're building a no-gi collection for him. Then taking inspiration from adjacent markets is a big thing for us. My business partner Dave's a huge surfer.
Oh, great.
And he was surfing in a pair of board shorts that he just thought were a super unique material. I was wondering, oh man, I bet this would be a great jiu-jitsu short material. And that was the inspiration behind our Airflex shorts that are made from a super quick drying ripstop material.
Really?
If you look at it closely, it almost looks like a ripstop gi pants, but it's like a ripstop polyester nylon. Awesome, kind of very unique product that, I haven't seen any other jiu-jitsu companies making.
When we talk about maybe some of those changes to the gis as far as the material, what does that mean for you as companies, and what does those changes mean for the athletes that'll be wearing it?
So we are in the process of updating all of our current model gis to meet the new IBJJF requirements, and that involves moving some of the logo placements to the new required logo areas, adding tags that specifically show the GSM, which is the weight of the gi.
I mean, if the judges want to check it there on the spot, do they have to I
didn't make the rules. I'm not sure how heavily these are going to be enforced, but there'd be nothing worse than somebody buying one of our gis that we say is competition legal, and they get turned around on competition day, can't compete. That would be horrible.
I do soccer refereeing, and one of the things they made a change in high school was shin guards had to have a special stamp on them for some special safety rating. Oh, that was a difficult year when they implemented that. I had to go through. You had to check everybody's shin guards under their socks. It was a pain. And then kids didn't have it because they didn't know, because nobody knew. But so changing some of the placement of things. And what about maybe going into what is the difference in material? Is it, you mentioned differences in lightweight, but how will it affect people wearing them?
So weight of the gi is the main thing, where previously you could wear a gi of any weight. And our Arrowweave gi is 275 GSM gi, so very lightweight gi. I've seen brands that sell 1,000 GSM gi, so super heavyweight gi. Both have their advantages and disadvantages.
Right.
A lightweight gi is easier to make weight with, but a heavier weight gi is harder to establish grips with. So the IBJJF is standardizing things and requiring gis to be between 380 and I believe 650 is the upper limit.
Wow.
Maybe 550. It's a pretty tight range.
Well,
so for athletes, it's going to make a lot of the gis you currently own ineligible for IBJJF competition.
Well, as somebody about coming up on 4 years of my personal jiu-jitsu journey, I learned really quick I like lightweight gis. So my closet may change a little bit. I do want to talk about one of your gis, privilege of purchasing the Arrowweave. And as somebody who's had a lot of brands, man, I just really liked how light it was. And it wasn't so much the weight. I think with how much I train, just like the heaviness, how easy it is to move within the garment. I came to really like that one. So hopefully we can.
For sure. And the Arrowweave is the one gi in our lineup that we are making no changes to.
Okay.
It's so far off the bottom limit. It's at 275 GSM. We could not bring that up to 380 GSM and keep the same gi that everybody enjoys. So yeah, that's one gi we are not touching. And it'll still be legal in any Grappling X, Naga, other competition, just not.
I do want to talk about community engagement a bit. I've seen on your social lately that you guys, it looks like you're teaming up with athletes. How does Gold BJJ stay active in the community? And just how do you guys collaborate with practitioners, whether they are professionals or hobbyists, like most of the people I know?
For sure. Well, we are in San Diego, so it's kind of the mecca of jiu-jitsu inside the U.S. So I train at a few different gyms and just try to keep a good pulse on the local scene. We like to sponsor local athletes that just kind of mesh well with our brand, have the kind of attitude and approach to jiu-jitsu we have. We really just try to be a jiu-jitsu brand for everybody. We're not jiu-jitsu gear strictly for world champions, super hardcore vibe. We're jiu-jitsu gear for, the first class up to the championship podium. Just try to be inclusive in that respect. And then from a customer experience standpoint on our website, we try to make sure that we are personally, either me, Dave, or customer service team, giving very not off-the-shelf canned replies to everything, that we're like actually taking people's questions into account and, giving them just excellent customer experience.
It is interesting. I was messaging you guys on Instagram and I didn't know who I was messaging. And I'm like, oh, hey, who is this? And you're like, oh, this is Cole. I'm like, oh, the guy from the emails. Because you guys sign you guys do like address us very personal. And dude, I get emails from a lot of jiu-jitsu brands. I like gis. I like fashion. I like seeing what other people get, whether it's designs or color or material. That is, my wife kind of made me wait till I got to my blue belt before I started like collecting stuff for fun. I kind of had to earn it. But you guys have done that really well, I think. And I've heard from other people that have purchased that they had a good experience. And that is transitions into business. I wanted to ask, as a company, what are some of the obstacles you and your co-founder, your partner, have like had to overcome? What are some of the most difficult, and how did you overcome them?
By far the most difficult was COVID. COVID just threw everybody for a loop, and especially in the jiu-jitsu industry, we had no idea whether gyms were going to reopen in 2 months or 2 years, whether demand for jiu-jitsu gear was going to collapse. We really had no idea. It also massively impacted our logistics, to where it was very hard to restock gear. Prices of shipping were just astronomical. What previously cost us $3,000 to ship a container from China to the U.S., then in the peak of COVID, we got a quote for $38,000, over 10 times more expensive for shipping the same container.
Really?
And wow. The wait times for getting that container to your warehouse were just insane too, because the ports were so backed up. They were understaffed. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that was definitely the most difficult time of running our business. How we got through it.
What did you do? Yeah.
Just basically not giving up is the biggest thing. Just like in a jiu-jitsu match, if you give up, you're going to lose. We really tried to do everything we could to stay on top of our manufacturers, our freight forwarders, keep everything moving, run things as lean as possible. We, didn't let anybody go, which I was very happy and proud of.
Yeah.
But, definitely trimmed the office snack cabinet for a year or two there.
Nice, man. Yeah, I work with a fitness product as well, and it's a great product, but it is made overseas, and that's been a really difficult thing for them, and they're starting to come out on the other side of it now finally, so it's been good to see. I wanted to ask you, what do you think makes GOLD BJJ unique as a jiu-jitsu apparel company?
I'd say the main thing is that we make very high quality gear for everybody, whether it's your first jiu-jitsu class and you don't know what the difference between any gis are or the different weaves and that sort of stuff. You can email us, get a very personal answer that doesn't make you feel like you're a dummy for asking these questions. Or if you're a championship athlete like Big Dan Monsoyu,
right,
that is looking for high performance gear for ADCC championships, we can fill that hole in the market as well.
Cole, tell me a little bit about maybe some of the life lessons that you've learned in jiu-jitsu as a practitioner and how that's helped you as a business owner.
For sure. So anybody who's trained jiu-jitsu knows that like the number one thing that jiu-jitsu teaches you is how to be comfortable in uncomfortable situations. Mm-hmm. I train in the morning class every day, so I'm starting my day getting just smothered and sweated on by 220-pound dudes trying to break my arms.
Yeah.
After that, kind of whatever I run into in the day is not that big of an obstacle. And in e-commerce in particular, running this business, you're constantly putting out little fires that if you let any one of those things kind of run you over or stop your progress, it's really hard to recover. So in our business, whether Amazon's taking a listing down or we have a shipment coming in late, you really got to quickly react to these problems. I think that's something that jiu-jitsu really helps you with.
I heard people talk about that when I was getting started. In fact, my friend who got me into jiu-jitsu was like, dude, you own a small business. You should do this. Not only is it a good hobby, you get exercise, but he's like, every time I leave training, it's like that problem that I carried in there with me. It's still a problem, but it just doesn't have the same weight as it did when I walked in there. And he just has taken that confidence into his business. And I will say, I didn't understand that at first until I really got involved and my business started growing and I started experiencing some of the weight and the problems and a lot of the good things that come along with it, where I'm like, okay, I could focus on this problem really, really bad right now, or I can go grab my bag and go to lunch class, even though I don't want to. And I don't know if there's ever been a time where I wasn't glad that I did.
Totally. I feel like as a father too, jiu-jitsu is something that just gives you more patience once you've kind of dealt with problems on the jiu-jitsu mat. I feel like I come home just a more relaxed and calm and patient person, for business, family, anything.
Yeah. Managing your life and your family and having a team there at Gold BJJ. What are some of the leadership principles that you've learned through the experience of running this company? How do you apply them to your business and maybe your personal life?
Sure. So, everybody's got a different style of running business and managing people. Dave and I's is to hire people that we just really trust. And that's both on an integrity standpoint and as a thought process standpoint. For, say, Andy and Elise in our warehouse, we know that they can just handle 99% of the problems without even involving us. And there's 1% they do need to get us involved in. Of course, we're happy to help with that. But we really like working with people who are proactive, self-starters, and don't need a lot of hand-holding.
No, that's great, man. I'm curious about balance. How do you balance business, personal, family? What's that like on a day-to-day basis for you?
Keeping a tight schedule is the number one thing for me. I've got 2 young kids, a marriage that, I'm trying to put a lot of energy into as well,
Nice.
a business I'm running. Just keeping a very strict schedule, and that's, keeping jiu-jitsu in the morning, then I'm hanging out with kids, coming to the office for some set hours, picking kids up from school, that sort of thing. It's keeping that schedule and sticking to it.
Yeah, it's been really big. That's something, again, a little problem when I started off in business. I was a little more free with my schedule, and I realized, I need to learn to be better at time management. The joke was my dad, I remember he gave me this book called Time Management for Dummies, but the thing is I never had time to read it. And thankfully I've had some good mentors come along and help with it, because as a dad and as a husband, like, those things are very, very important to me. I don't want to sacrifice one for the other. And so I think I've heard having balance can be difficult. I don't try to balance them all at the same time. When I'm at work, I try to focus fully on work. When I'm with my wife, I try to fully focus on my time with her. I've had to learn the hard way of putting the phone down, putting the phone on Do Not Disturb. When I'm with my kids, do they see me looking at my phone or do they see me looking at them? And there are times where I fail, but I'm thankfully, I'm aware of it. And I don't do it right every day, but definitely try.
Those are all things I think about a ton. Like, I took my son to jiu-jitsu class yesterday, and he's loving jiu-jitsu, but he's also looking for some reinforcement of checking out on the sidelines, looking for dad occasionally. I don't want him, looking for that and then to see me down on my phone or something. I want to make sure that I'm being involved.
Because we've all sat in the gym with all the parents, and what are people doing? Hey, they're either on their phone, sometimes they're watching. But for me, sometimes I'm finally like, oh my goodness, peace and quiet. I can answer those emails. I can get back to those Instagram messages. And my son is a lot like me. He loves affirmation. He likes that recognition. So taking time to making sure, okay, if I'm going to work while I'm in class, what's that going to look like? And can I put barriers or boundaries in place? That way I can see his growth. I just have 2 more questions for you, Cole. Thank you so much for being on here. This next one is just advice for entrepreneurs. Maybe based on your experience of building this company, what advice would you give to maybe aspiring entrepreneurs, maybe inside jiu-jitsu brands or outside?
Sure. Everybody's got their own path in entrepreneurship. Some people like to drop everything and go all into the idea they have. The way Dave and I started this business, it was a bit of a side project until it picked up enough momentum that we could confidently jump into Gold BJJ thinking, hey, this has a real shot at success. We're not gambling on this. We have customers that like the product. Now it's time to pour some more fuel on the fire. So I think one of the big things is just starting to take action. And that doesn't mean you have to be completely all in on something, but get that ball moving, start booking some wins just like you would in jiu-jitsu, where, if you learn some new technique in class, you're not immediately going to go and nail it on the hardest black belt in your gym. You might work it on a couple white belts, a trial student, try it on a blue belt, and work your way up in small chunks.
When I travel, I don't know what it is. The gym I'm visiting is always teaching a half guard pass. Like I have to go to Houston in a couple weeks, and I'm already been talking to my wife. I wonder what half guard pass I'm going to learn in a couple weeks. And my professor is a half guard. He's known as a half guard player. And I'm always like, hey, I got something for you. And he's like, brother, what, you learned it one night for an hour? You're ready for the, And so I always come back and it becomes a game, try to throw it on him. Never works.
Yeah, for sure. You got to work your way up.
And I think that's what makes it so much fun. You can't rush your way into this sport. And that's really a good way I've heard to pace yourself in it. And I think that's important for business as well. It doesn't mean that you're not intentional with how you move forward. It doesn't mean that you're not intentional with what your goals are, but you can be strategic and thoughtful in a longer jiu-jitsu journey. Just wrapping this up, I just am curious, just from you and your partner, what are some of the future goals that you have for GOLD BJJ? And are there any upcoming products or initiatives that you guys are particularly excited about that you'd like to share?
For sure. One of our big goals this year is to continue growing our athlete team and launch custom gear in collaboration with our athletes.
Wonderful.
We just sponsored Big Dan. He's got a no-gi set that he personally designed that we're bringing to market that's kind of unique. It'll be a pretty cool thing to launch. We just sponsored a local MMA fighter who's huge in the San Diego Jiu-Jitsu scene, Bobby Winther, as well. He's got an absolutely fascinating story. He's an active duty Navy SEAL.
Really?
An MMA fighter for Cage Warriors, extremely high-level jiu-jitsu competitor. We're excited about working with him and developing a no-gi set for him. So yeah, that's one of the big goals for this year.
That's great, man. And why? Why are you focusing on that?
It's honestly, part of it is just, it's something fun and cool to do. And we love having athletes come to our office, get some rounds in with them, collaborate with them on gear, helps expand our product line and makes our products, a wider array that suit more customers.
I will say we do talk about some creative side of jiu-jitsu on this podcast. So before I let you go, I do want to ask you about that. So I feel like you're one of the brands that I really respect for putting out content that's valuable. We see them. Where do you guys film that at your warehouse or
so? We've got a full-time in-house creative director, Al, who's just a wizard with anything audio, video. And we're lucky enough to be in San Diego where there's so many high-level jiu-jitsu athletes.
Lots of fun.
So yeah, we have people come into the office all the time to shoot content, take photos, that sort of stuff.
And so you have a creative director. Is he coming up with those ideas on his own? Or are you guys working together? Or how do you come up with when you need to make content? Because I see everything. Your ads are everything from GIFs or GIFs, depending on where you live in the country, to humor. Like I like the humor. Like it's a very personal side to it. To now, working with serious athletes. How do you guys?
Yeah, we've got a Slack channel just for GOLD BJJ Creative that everybody's kicking around ideas, or if they just something pops up in their head, they'll pop it in there, and Al will save it on a video shoot list for something to shoot next time. We also get tons of ideas from customers. We're always emailing our customers, ask, hey, we've got so-and-so athlete coming in. Do you have any questions for them? Anything that'd be interesting to hear them talk about? We get great customer submissions through that way too.
Dude, I love to hear that. Well, guys, if you are in the market for some jiu-jitsu gear, definitely reach out to GOLD BJJ. Cole and the team there, I'm sure they'll be happy to help you. But Cole, can you give us a little shout out of where people can find you online?
Absolutely. Head on over to goldbjj.com. Pick up some great jiu-jitsu gear. Thanks for your support.
Awesome. Well, guys, thank you so much for tuning in with all the podcasts you could be watching and listening to on the internet. The fact that you took time out of your day to watch and listen to this one, we greatly appreciate it. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.